get you connected to your community. We're your local station to keep you informed. Welcome to Energy 95.3's Community Connection.
Guess what's back? Back again. Hockey's back. Tell a friend. Now, I think I just formed an Eminem diss track, so I'm sure that's going to be coming my way. But I am excited because hockey is back. As we are trying to find some sort of normality in the non-normality of the world right now. My name is Erik Fox, by the way, live here at Energy 95.3. Joined on the other side of the screen by a gentleman who's joined us a few times. And glad to have him back and see him in the fold again. Of course, it is Ryan Holt. Ryan, how are you doing this morning, buddy?
I'm good. We're 3 weeks away from puck drop somehow, and the longest off season just turned into the quickest off season for us. So we're excited, and thanks for having me on.
Absolutely. So NHL, the big Papa League, actually got started last night. Yeah. Edmonton, of course, played last night. Other teams are starting tonight. We won't talk about that. We've talked about that off the screen or off the time here. But because of all the changes, the NHL has actually realigned and been changed this season. Can you share maybe a little bit about that with people who maybe don't know what the changes and everything that happened with the NHL this season?
Yeah, I think just you saw it a little bit in the NBA, how they got around it and having one team in Canada. The Toronto Raptors are playing in Tampa Bay this year. So for the NHL, that wasn't possible to move 7-8 teams out of Canada, move them to the United States. They didn't want to kind of do that bubble scenario again and have guys away from their families for an extended period of time. So basically, they realigned the divisions to make it more regional. The divisions were kind of regional anyways, but there's an all-Canadian division now, and you're only going to play inside your division. So a lot of back-to-backs against the same team. The Oilers played Vancouver last night. They're going to play them again tonight. So cutting down on travel, cutting down on the amount of teams you play, the amount of interaction you have with other teams, and it's for the better. It's made it interesting because, now the Oilers have a rivalry, with Toronto and Montreal. And, these are the teams that they're going to play not only in the regular season, but for the first 2 rounds of the playoffs. So you're not going to see anybody outside your division for the first 2 rounds. So for a long time. And when you get to the conference final, you're going to see a team for the first time. Whereas you might have just played the other team you just, beat in the second round 15, 16 times this year. So a little different, a little awkward, but at the end of the day, they're able to play hockey up there, and that's great to see.
That's definitely going to be interesting because that's one of the things is you see these rivalries form over the season, and then obviously it goes into playoffs, and that's when it amps up. So you're not going to get that pre-part of the rivalry forming, when Edmonton comes through the California teams. You're not going to have that. So the first time in which maybe they would face one of the LA teams or Pacific teams will be in the playoffs. So that's definitely a different dynamic entirely when it comes to the big league. Let's stay with the big league for a little bit here with Edmonton, your parent organization. What's that looking like this year? What are things looking like for the Oilers as we head into the new season?
Well, the first and foremost is the first goal scored last night, Kyler Yamamoto, who spent the last 2 seasons or parts of the last 2 seasons here in Bakersfield, and was a big part of the Condors postseason and big part of last season's team as well too. So 13 Condors are currently with the Oilers. There's a little bit of an extended roster this year just because of some COVID protocols and making sure that you have enough healthy, able bodies to be able to play each and every night. So that gives a lot of opportunities for 13 guys who spent the majority of the last 4 or 5 years here in Bakersfield. So that's a positive. And then how that trickles down to Bakersfield remains to be seen. It's kind of strange to have an NHL season start 3 weeks before the AHL season. Usually it would kind of be a little more symbiotic and how they structure things in training camps. But it is 2021 now, and we're in a new world, and we're just rolling with the punches. So I think it's interesting. I think for the Oilers to play, all Canadian teams and what that looks like. I think games take on a different importance just because, there's only 56 of them for Edmonton. And at the end of the day, you look at it and you're going to play the same teams back to back. And how does that change things? It's certainly different in the NHL. You'd only usually play a team maybe 3-4 times a season, the most. And now you're seeing teams, 8-9 times a year, and a lot of them, for the Oilers, it's back-to-backs and same team twice over and over. So I think that changes things. So the Oilers have, two of the best players in the league in Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. They got a healthy nucleus of returners and Nugent Hopkins and guys up front. Puljujarvi's back, who we saw here in Bakersfield a lot. So we'll see what happens, but it's definitely an offensively dynamic team for sure.
So you brought up something which I do want to bring up here. Usually in past seasons, I mean, you literally saw movement constantly between the Oilers and the Condors. It would be like almost 3 times a week. You'd have players transferring. I know it's still trying to feel it out and figure it out, but any kind of idea on how that system's going to work out with that?
Yeah, I think it's going to be less transactions, I think, this year. And I think that's just due to the fact that the Oilers are able to have a taxi squad. So the taxi squad is basically 4 to 6 players who practice, who basically all the regulations that would be AHL in terms of roster movements. If you're being sent to the taxi squad, it would be like being sent to the AHL. The only difference is you're not going to come play in the American Hockey League. You're going to play and practice on this taxi squad. And should the need arise for an extra body, an emergency body that night, they were able to already be in Edmonton or already be with the team on the road. So that certainly limits the amount of bodies that come to Bakersfield. I mean, if you just do the numbers and the Oilers keep 6 extra players in Edmonton, there's 6 extra players that aren't coming to Bakersfield. And that's just the nature of the business, and that's across the league. So it's not just a Condors Edmonton thing. It's just the way things are going right now. And as a result, we've signed a lot more players to American Hockey League contracts. So we have a greater depth pool here in Bakersfield to kind of pick from. And it gives a lot of guys more of an opportunity than maybe they wouldn't have had it been a normal year with a normal roster size and things like that. So, yeah, I don't envision many transactions up and down this year. I mean, we're only going to play 40 games, and, the Oilers season's done in May. So you won't see as much movement up and down. But at the same token, that gives a lot of guys an opportunity here.
Gotcha. So let's talk about the AHL. You brought it up, and then we transitioned there. Obviously, the NHL had to make a lot of changes, a lot of transformations with everything going on in the world right now. AHL obviously had to do some moves and some changes as well. What changes and what differences are we going to see with the AHL as we head into this new season?
Well, I've got my gator on, so at all times. So, the first and foremost is the health and safety. So a lot of work's being done right now in the arena, not only in the Condors locker room specific areas, but just around the arena in general, our front office and anybody who would have contact with basically anybody in the organization. So there's a lot more testing. So the players will be tested regularly, the staff, anyone who comes in contact with players, which the size of that has shrunk down. There's not as much, people around the locker room, people around downstairs. So to have face-to-face contact with players. So that's first and foremost. Our travel will look a little different. We'll go day of game as opposed to maybe the day before, stay in a hotel. So we're going to limit the amount of hotel time. We're going to limit the amount of time on a bus. We're going to limit the amount of time on a plane. We're not going to have long road trips. We're not going to have a lot of overnight trips on a bus. So things look a little different. But at the end of the day, I've been telling everyone, they're going to put 20 minutes up on the clock and we're going to drop a puck. And that part, at least inside the glass, will look pretty much identical to what you've seen.
Gotcha. So like the NHL is only playing within their own division. Is the AHL going to be doing the same thing as well this season?
Yeah, and we would typically only play, a handful of games outside of our division anyways, in the normal 68-game season. So with 40 games, we have 8 teams in the Pacific Division. We'll see, just about everybody in the Pacific. So we'll see the new team in Henderson, Vegas, Nevada, coming up as well too a lot this season. So we'll only play inside the division. Playoffs remain to be seen what happens there in terms of format and structure and who gets in, who gets out, and that might even be evolving as the season progresses. To be honest with you, and it's just a matter of size and travel and restrictions. We have 4 teams in Canada. In the American Hockey League. So is the border open? Are we able to go back and forth? So things remain fluid. And I think that's kind of the word of the season, fluid and flexibility, and just kind of roll with the punches and figure it out. But we're going to start February 5th. Looks like I think we're going to start on the road, and then we'll be back home the following week for our home opener, which, unfortunately probably won't have fans, but will be different and a little strange. But at the end of the day, like I said, we'll drop a puck and we'll play a game.
Hockey is hockey sometimes. So let's talk about the team for the season coming up here. What are you looking forward to? What are you excited about? What players maybe are the ones in which are going to be the ones to watch that might be new to the Condors roster?
Well, it's strange because, and I was just I write a weekly blog, and I wrote a weekly blog, and then for the last 9 months I've been kind of dormant. But the last blog I wrote in March when we went to Michigan, and then the season was canceled. And the last line I wrote in that was, the bus arrived back in Condortown, the team dispersed, and what remains to be seen, who knows? That might be the last. And sure enough, it was. And so I was writing my blog today, and I was thinking back to all the players and everything that's kind of gone on over the last 9 months. But we've got a great nucleus of returners: Brad Malone, Joe Gambardella, Luke Esposito, guys who have been here 2-3 years under head coach Jay Woodcroft, and knows kind of what's expected, what's going on. What remains to be seen who we still get from Edmonton, but there's some high draft picks that we've seen come through here over the last couple of years. Ryan McLeod is still up in Edmonton. He may be here in Bakersfield at some point. Evan Bouchard's still up in Edmonton. He may be here in Bakersfield at some point. We've got returners on the blue line from past seasons. Ryan Stanton was a veteran from our playoff run in 2019, went to Ontario last year, and now comes back into the organization this year. So there's a good veteran presence. We've got two outstanding veterans, AHL All-Stars, guys who have been around the league for a number of years, in Seth Griffith and Adam Cracknell. I mean, these guys are proven commodities, not only at the AHL level, but the NHL level as well, too. So you're going to see a veteran-heavy team, but then you'll see a bunch of fresh-faced college rookies and guys out of juniors and guys looking to make a name for themselves. And you're going to get an opportunity here in Bakersfield this year. So that's all we're looking for.
It's going to be interesting to see because it's definitely a different dynamic all around. So looking forward to that February 5th. Once again, the puck is dropping. And like you said, as we get into the season, first, it won't probably be fans. Probably not going to happen. What are ways in which the Condortown faithful can still see their team play and perform?
Well, we have the Condors broadcast network, and it's on the other conglomerate of stations in town. So I won't reveal that, but everyone knows, our broadcast. And then AHL TV is a great way to stay in touch with what's happening in terms of watching home and away games. And that's kind of going to be your source for the year. I think it's $30 for the entire year. It's all HD streams. It's professional quality. It's, a great way to watch, and it's available on all streaming platforms. So,
perfect.
More so than even technology than I have, Apple TV and Android Fire and Roku and all these other. If there's a streaming platform on your TV, there's a chance that AHL TV is in there, and obviously you can watch it on your computer or your smartphone, tablets, and things like that. So you can take it anywhere, and home and away feeds. So you can choose not to listen to me. You can choose to listen to me. Whatever you want to do.
Right.
But it's that's the best way to do it. You can go back the next day. It's all on demand and stuff too. So great to provide that service. It unfortunately will look a little different with no fans around the arena, at least to start, and we'll make do with it.
You guys are going to get creative with it, obviously, because that's, of course, what Condortown is. Condortown is not limited in creativity in any way, shape, or form. So looking forward to that. Ryan, I do appreciate the time, as always. And as we go through the season, would love to connect up more and just see how things are going, how we're transforming, and just keep connecting and community connections, which is what we love doing here at Energy. Ryan, I appreciate the time.
Absolutely appreciate you, and appreciate everyone for tuning in, and appreciate this community and keeping the faith and keeping the support, and we'll get you all back in the arena as soon as possible.
Love it. See you guys next time. Thanks for checking in.